He's getting ready to start.
Right, we're ready. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Nowhere. Well, we've got a terrific show today. My guest is Linda Sigman. On today's show, we're going to talk about her book, Beyond the Pale, Moonlight, a UFO Mothman Encounter. Can we please welcome Linda to the show? Hello there.
Everybody.
How are you?
Pleasure to be here.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not so bad. Thank you very much. After lots of traumas, but you've got to get on with life.
You got to keep going.
You have. What first inspired you to write Beyond the Pale Moonlight? Was there a single moment that made you feel this has to be told?
I think the one single moment, if I have to think about that, was when I was asked to go to the Round Town UFO Society in Circleville, Ohio, and tell my story. And after I told my story, people said, well, you need to get that out so people can get a better idea of what you saw and what was going on at that time. So a friend of mine, his name is Mark Randall, and he's a digital artist, and he writes a lot of books, and he does a lot of digital work and art for people that are in that genre of writing books and things, becoming authors. And he helped me put the book together. He basically took my information and my story and put it together for me in a book. And he did a lot of the work on the inside. Here's the outside. And
Brilliant! Yes,
yeah.
Great. Thank you.
But he's a wonderful artist.
Can you walk us through the encounter that anchors the book?
Yes. You want the long version or the short version? I was a teenager at the time when Mothman was sighted in West Virginia. And a lot of the kids called it the bird because no one really knew what it was. And because of Chief Cornstalk living in that area back in the 1700s, he was supposedly put a curse on West Virginia. So a lot of people blamed him for seeing this bird. Well, it was sighted at the TNT area, which is about 15 minutes above Point Pleasant, West Virginia, back in 1966. And it harassed a couple of teenagers and people that were down there just riding around and looking in this wildlife preserve. And so a lot of us would gather together after that to try and see if we could see it. And it got in the news, and the government people came down there. And so one night, a boy that I was dating at the time, it was April 1966, or 1967, I'm sorry. He decided he wanted to go and see if he could find it. So we get in his 56 Chevy, and I wasn't allowed to go to Point Pleasant because of all the hoopla that was going on down there.
Yeah.
My parents told me to stay away from down there. So we decided to go back above where he lived in Mason, West Virginia, which is about 15 to 20 minutes above Point Pleasant, and go back in the hills and see what we could see. So he picked me up about 7:15 in April. I think it was the 15th in the evening. And we went across the Pomeroy Mason Bridge, which is a bridge that goes across the Ohio River between Pomeroy, Ohio and Mason, West Virginia. And went about 2 miles and went back out in the country. And it was a nice drive back in there. And he said, let's just pull over in this pasture field and turn around, face out, and see what we can see. And he had a quilt in the back of his car. And he said, let's put it on the front of the car and let's just climb up there and stargaze. Well, it was just barely starting to get dark because it was in April and there still wasn't leaves on the trees because of the time of year. We were sitting there about 10 minutes and I noticed he was looking over his shoulder, and I said, what are you looking at? And he said, look at me. He said, looking at the star. Look at that star over there. That sure is strange. And I said, what is that? He said, I've been watching it for about 10 minutes. So, man, that's really odd. And it would get great big, and then it would get little, and then it get big, and then it get little, and then it almost disappeared. And then suddenly it broke through the clouds. And this object came through the clouds. Now, back then, I had no idea of interdimensional beings or anything like that. But now I've come to the conclusion that this thing didn't just come from another planet, it came from another dimension. And that's my hypothesis. Because when it came through, the clouds opened, and it was just like a hollow area in there. You couldn't really see anything behind it, but it came through, and the whole area burst in beautiful rose and pink colors. And there was this gigantic object. And we've just sitting there with our mouth open thinking, it's the end of the world, someone's dropped the bomb. So I grew up in the 50s, and, that was always on my mind. Every time a plane flew over, I thought we were, going to get bombed. But anyway, we didn't know what to make of it. And I said, that must be a UFO. But back then we called them flying saucers.
Yeah.
I don't think that had been coined or really out into the public, that name, so much yet. So it sat there for just a little bit. And if you look at it to try to get an idea of the size, it looked like you'd be looking at a supermoon. I mean, it was big, but I thought it was farther away than what it was. But as I've come to know, it was closer than what I anticipated it being. And suddenly it started to move. And as we're sitting on the car and looking straight out, there is a row of trees that have no leaves on them yet. And that thing was like in the sky behind the trees, and it started to move from right to left. So we were watching it, and just both of us sitting there astounded by what we were looking at. It got out to the road that we had came in on, the old country road, and it stopped. And this thing was huge, and it was red, orangish red. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. It was only about treetop high, and it made no noise whatsoever. The next thing I can remember is it started to move towards us. And as it started to move, it was over top the car. And the next thing that I was conscious of is I was in the car. And I turned and looked, and my boyfriend's sitting over here behind the driver's seat. And I said, what happened? And I leaned out the passenger side, and I looked up, and this gigantic object is above us, treetop high. The whole area is lit up with brilliant white light. And I can close my eyes, and I can still see that light in the car. And I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? Of course, we were both frightened. And I looked at it so I could get a real good look at it. When it came toward us, it was like a ball. It moved like a ball. But when it got over top of us, it kind of went like this. So it was flat on the bottom and domed on the top. I would say it was probably about 30 feet long. I don't know, maybe at least 50 feet in circumference this way. I don't know what that'd be. I looked out, and I thought, I'm going to remember what this looks like underneath. And there were 3 lights underneath, big round blue lights that went straight down. And then across this way, there were 3 red ones. Well, 2 red ones on each side of the blue ones. And it was like a cross. And he goes, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. So he's trying to start the car, and I'm like looking, I'm just so curious. The thing we talked about after that is how neither of us were extremely terrified. I don't think we really had time, but this sense of peace was over both of us, really, more than what I think. It was extraordinary. So as he starts to pull forward, he gets it started, start to pull forward. It's dark outside. This thing's over top. It starts to move. And before he could pull out, down to the left bumper stood this creature that was man-like. I'm pointing at the creature. I'm like, look at that. He goes, I see it. It's a UFO. And I'm going, no, no, no. Look at that creature. Look at that thing standing there. And it's hard to gauge exactly how tall it was, but it was tall enough that I can remember I had to lean down and look out the front window of the car, the windshield of the car, to see the whole top of the thing. So I would say it was probably between 8 and 9 feet tall.
Oh, God.
And it was blackish gray because the light from above was shining down on it.
Right.
And it had its wings it had wings. It had wings to the side, plastered like down to its side. And I thought, he's going to hit it when he pulls out because it was that close to the car. It just took one jump and it was gone, like Superman,
Oh,
up in the air. And it flew up over the field, across the road, and up into the trees. He's pulling out of there as fast as he can. He goes out and gets onto the road we came in on. I'm hanging out of the passenger side looking because I want to see that thing. I said, that's that bird thing.
A bird thing.
And I'm hanging out, trying to hang on. And it landed in the tree over there because I could see it because there weren't any leaves on the trees. It was just turned around there, and it didn't really have a neck. It was kind of like this. And I'm like, did you see that? And he's flying, and we're fishtailing on those gravel roads, and down over the hill he goes. And he almost lost it. And the UFO goes straight, which would have gone just down over the hill into Mason, West Virginia, to the river.
Right.
And he goes, I saw it, Linda, I saw it. And I go, oh, it was awful looking. He said, it was a UFO. And I go, did you not see that creature? And he said, no, he didn't. I'm like, how did he must have just been, looked down just enough that when it jumped from left up over, I don't know how he kept from hitting it. I don't. It was just so big that it just took off. So we get down, he's driving, and I said, slow down, we're going to wreck. We get down to the bottom of the hill, and there is, they call it a strip mine. It's where they would come in, they'd mine coal, and they wouldn't really go underground. They just take it off along the edge of the hillside.
Yeah.
It was abandoned, and there were a few buildings there, not much. I said, please pull in here. Let's pull in here and talk about what we saw. So he pulls in there, and he pulls off of the main road and goes in and turns around so he's parallel with the road like this. And he turns the engine off, and we're both shaking, we're like all these thoughts and feelings and things going through our head. And I said, we have to go back up there. He goes, I'm not going up there. And I said, please, let's go back up there. I want you to see that thing. It's sitting up there in the tree.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't know what you saw. I've seen enough. Let's just sit here a few minutes. Well, it was dark. And so we're sitting there a little bit. And on the road we came down off of, we're facing it. And you can see off of your left the gravel road, and there's a rise there. And I said, oh, somebody's coming. Maybe we should leave. And it wasn't a car. It was another object. This one was about the size of a small car, a Volkswagen Beetle.
Right.
You guys know what that looks like. It was perfectly round, no sound either. But this one was bluish white and smaller.
Oh.
And it was about 3 feet above the ground. And it just creeping around. And that road was curvy like a snake. And it was following the road. So it was driven or it was moving on its own. And I said, oh my God, that bird thing, it's turned into something else and it's coming to get us. And he's like, no, calm down. That, and I go, well, what is that? He goes, I don't know. And it gets straight across from us because we pulled into that coal mine area and turned sideways and we're sitting there waiting. And it stops when it's parallel to us. And it sits there a minute. And I said, do you think we should leave? And he goes, well, I don't know. And he's just sitting there. And all of a sudden it started moving toward us. And it was just matter of fact, this blue white ball, 3 feet above the ground, just slowly moved toward us until it got right up to the driver's seat.
Oh my God.
And we're just sitting there looking at it. And I said, what is that? I don't know. And I said, it looks and acts and feels like it's alive. And I said, do you think that's that bird in another form? Because I don't know. Well, we watched it for just a little bit, and then it went around to the front of the car. It was right off of the bumper, but it was far enough ahead that you could see the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, in front.
And I'm looking in it, and I said, do you see any windows? And he said, no. I said, do you see any people in there? And he goes, no. And I said, it's not making any sound. And I don't know how long it sat there, probably about 5 minutes or so. And then it lifted up. And when it got up to like the windshield, the whole car filled with bluish white light. And it lifted up and went up over the car. And I turned around real quick and looked out, and it was gone. We both had our windows rolled down, which is frightening in the fact that it was right there beside him.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I got out on my side of the car. He got out on his side of the car, and it was dark, and it was quiet, and there was nothing. Nothing. I said, where did it go? Because I don't know. I said, I don't know. I said, let's just go home. He said, I'm going to take you home. I said, I think that's a good idea. But what do I tell my parents? Am I going to tell my parents I was out in the field parked with a guy I just started dating and, looking for?
Exactly.
Because my dad he was pretty strict, and he had told me not to go to Point Pleasant. Don't you go down there. Of course, we did a couple times.
Yeah, because you're young.
So we get back out into the town of Mason, which is just a little town. And we turn left and we go down the road, main road. We get down to the bridge approach of the Pomeroy Mason Bridge. Now, my house was over in Ohio on the other side of the river, on the other side of Pomeroy Mason Bridge, not very far. So I can remember we started across the bridge, and I told him, I feel funny. Not afraid.
No.
Not sick, not sad. It just was a sort of a peaceful feeling. I said, I feel strange. He goes, I feel the same way. And I said, I don't know what that was that we encountered, but I feel like something went into my mind and swept it out. swept everything, all my memories, everything. I had my memories, but it was just like when you go upstairs and you go in the attic and you take a broom and you sweep, and it's all clean. That's how
Yeah.
it felt. That's how it felt. And I said that was before computers or before downloading or uploading. So I didn't have anything to compare it to. He said, I feel the same way. So I said, well, let's get to the end of the bridge, turn right, because if you turn left, you're taking me home. Turn right and let's go and sit on the parking lot. That was his idea. There's a big place where kids hung out and people parked their cars to go to the stores. And it's a big parking lot in front of, right along the Ohio River. So directly across there is where we were back in the hills. I said, let's go up there and sit and see if we can see anything. So he said, okay. So we pull in there and we're sitting in the car trying to gather our thoughts. I'm trying to think what I'm going to tell my parents.
Okay.
And he's just sitting there thinking, I'm going to get in trouble. But teenagers, I was 16. He was just 17. And we saw some lights in the horizon going back and forth over the mountains. But we couldn't tell. They weren't blinking, but we couldn't tell what it was. So he decided we'd go home. I looked at my clock. I looked at my watch. Back then we wore watches. It was like 9:15. It's like, how can this be? That was an hour and a half. And we weren't over there in the pasture.
So you had some missing time.
I had 35 to 45 minutes of missing time. So, that bothered me a little bit. But then again, I thought, as a teenager, I didn't think a whole lot of it. I thought, well, maybe something's wrong with my clock or something. So we get down to my house, which is from where we were parked, 2 miles at the most. And we pull back into my driveway. And we had a great big old 2-story house with a front porch across the front of it that overlooked the Ohio River. And if you look directly across the river from where you're sitting on my porch, are the hillsides and the mountains. And that's where we were back over into Mason, West Virginia. We pull in the driveway and my parents were both sitting on the porch and my dad runs out to the car. And I think, how did he know where we were and what we were up to?
Oh, God.
We didn't really have time, to look, only to look. So he goes, hurry, get out of the car. I'm like, oh, what's wrong? He goes, come here. He said, your mom and I were sitting on the porch here just right before you came, maybe 15 minutes before you got here. And he said, here come this great big ball of white light, which was the second one that I saw. He said it was about the size of a car. He said it came up over the hill, turned left, went across over top of the bridge. He said, I thought when it went towards the bridge, it was so low that it was going to hit the top of that bridge. He said it went towards Pomeroy. So we're walking up and the steps and getting on the porch, and we're sitting there, and the phone rings. And my mom gets up and goes inside because it was landlines. We didn't have cell phones.
No.
And she comes back in. She said it was Grandma, her mother. My grandmother lived up above Pomeroy, where we were on the parking lot, up on the hill on the opposite side of the river. And she said, hurry, run and go out. There's one, maybe 2 round UFOs coming your way. So whatever that was, it sent out sentries or scouts or, she saw it. My grandpa saw it. My mom and dad saw it. My boyfriend and I saw it. So the next day, it was on the radio, WMPO radio in Pomeroy. And they said, call in if you saw any strange objects in the area. People were calling in, I'm like, I want to call in. Of course, my dad didn't want me to. He said, government men will be down here messing around. I don't want, he had two girls, because I don't want them down here messing around, and I don't want to have to, everybody in town knew my dad. So he said, I don't want anybody thinking we're nuts, we're involved in this. He said, you just stay away from that. So I saw a question down here. It says, what do you believe this creature is? Real, myth, or something else?
Yeah.
It was solid. Now, I have learned quite a bit over the almost 60 years since this happened to me, that a supernatural creature supposedly can appear solid at times. There's things called shapeshifters.
Yeah.
They can take any form they want. I know all this is hearsay and myth, but when you yourself are involved with something like this, it becomes very real. That's another part of this story. When I got married in 1971 to another man, raised two children, and got divorced. I had a lot of problems with nightmares and my emotions. It took me a long time to process what I went through. So when I got a computer, I did some searching to try and find out what happened to me, because I realized I had missing time and nightmares about that creature. So I found MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network of Ohio, and they got me in touch with the Round Town UFO Society of Circleville, Ohio.
Right.
And they told me that they would like to hear my story. Would I come up and tell it? Well, I wasn't much to speak in public, but if it was that important, it was important to me to find out if other people had these encounters too, or was I the only one? Was I going crazy? And what have I put up with all these years? So I drove up there, and my daughter went with me, and I told my story. And that is how they came about, where, you should write down. And as far, there's another question on here. Do you think the Mothman was a portent for evil, or to give a warning about the Silver Bridge disaster? That's something else I will tell you if you want me to, but I will answer that in a minute.
Yeah.
I think it kept me from being on that bridge, because I have talked to several people that had encountered the Mothman, and because it frightened them so bad, they didn't leave their home or go very far, or, in public and stuff, or around Point Pleasant, because of it. And that kept us from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
Because I went across that bridge 2 weeks before it fell. And when I did get down there, I wished I hadn't, because of what I saw. But as far as the Round Town UFO Society, they had a member there that was a licensed hypnotherapist, and she wanted me to be regressed. Well, I had mixed emotions about that, but I wanted to put a period at the end of my sentence. So I agreed to it, and she was a very nice lady. She was getting ready to retire, and I thought, they can't hypnotize me. That's impossible. And they did. She did. And hypnosis is really odd, because She talked to me for so long. All I was interested in was what she had to say and how she said it. She wasn't leading in any way, but she was so calming and so reassuring, and asked me to pick up where I could to find out what I wanted to find out. And before we started, I asked her if I could remember everything, because I wanted to remember it to be able to process it.
Yeah.
So she said, if you start to become too frantic or anything like that, I'll bring you out of it. I'm like, okay. So my hypnosis is on YouTube.
Did
If
you
anybody,
did you find out about your missing time as well?
yes, I did. It came to the part where we're sitting on the car and we're sitting on the quilt on top of the hood of the car, and the object is coming toward us. And as the object is coming toward us, he jumps off the car on the right side of the car. And when he jumped off, I slid along with the quilt onto the floor, onto the ground.
Right.
I even remembered the car engine was still hot, the radiator. I had shorts on. I could feel that burning the back of my legs. I still felt that when I was under hypnosis. And when I fell down, I didn't fall on the ground. I fell on a couple of feet.
Oh, right.
And what it was that creature that was standing there. I know this sounds ridiculous and fantastic, but I saw that creature up close and personal. I looked in my book. I have a picture and that I drew of the minute I come out of hypnosis of what I saw, and I had my hair in pigtails, and I drew that. I saw its legs, I saw its feet, I saw its legs, and it just kept going up and up till it got to a point where I just couldn't look anymore, because I looked to the sides. I saw its wings. I felt the skin of that thing was
Right.
like a lizard, like it wasn't warm.
Cold. Slimy.
Cold, scaly,
Ah, right.
almost like bird-like.
Yeah.
It had wings, but it had hands, like a bat has the fingers. It had long fingers, and it didn't have much of a neck. But it had broad shoulders, and the thing picked me up and held me like this. I only weighed about 100 pounds. If I weighed that, I was little. I can remember putting my head down and feeling that thing when it was moving, when it was walking, feeling that skin. And it I didn't see feathers. It may have had feathers, but I didn't see feathers.
No.
But I do remember its hands, long, skinny fingers, but it didn't hurt me. And it went over to the car, and my boyfriend was sitting in the car, just in a stupor, just sitting there. And the door was open, and it reached in and kind of got him to get out. And it was a bench seat, and it pushed me across. And then he got in, and the door went closed. And that's when I said, how'd I get in the car? And that's when I remembered from there on out the thing standing over here and flying. And I think that's why I wanted to go back so much, because I wanted him to see it. I wanted
Yes.
him to see what had hold of me. Now, that's hard enough for me to grasp, but I can remember everything about it now because she brought that out. And I know that sounds ridiculous and fantastic, but I lived it, and it's no wonder I was nuts.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's no
You've gone
wonder.
through it all.
Now, 2 weeks before the Silver Bridge collapsed, that's all that summer, my boyfriend and I continued to look for this thing. We told several people. We told some of our schoolmates. He went to a different school than I did, but it was close by. I quit telling people because they started calling me witch and crazy,
Yeah.
and but my psychic abilities after I had that encounter were so strong that it was hard for me to be in school. I missed a lot of school. I still graduated in the top 10% of my class, but
Brilliant.
it was still hard for me. And when we would have assemblies and kids would come in, I thought, oh my God, how noisy, all these kids talking and everything. I'd look up and nobody was talking. I could hear all that commotion in
Yeah.
my mind,
Picking it all up.
all those teenage feelings, and school was just too much. But I graduated when I was 17. But 2 weeks before the bridge fell, I wanted to go to Point Pleasant and do some Christmas shopping. So it was about 20 minutes from where I lived. So I got in my car and went down, and I had to go across the Silver Bridge. Now that's the bridge that collapsed.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's in the Mothman prophecies. That story is a lot of it's true. We would sit on that bridge and it would sway and swing because it was a suspension bridge that was held together by eye bars. There was like a cable that went through these eyes and
Yeah.
draped, and it
I know
held
what you
that.
mean.
And one of them gave way and snapped, and it just went down in seconds. But I was in the middle of that bridge 2 weeks before Christmas, and I can remember looking out over the water and seeing the Christmas lights and thinking, it's so beautiful, but this is frightening because it was swinging. So finally, the traffic moved, and I got down to town in Point Pleasant, and there was a store down there. I wanted to go in and get some things for Christmas for people. Well, I thought I'll never find a place to park, but right in front was a spot. So I thought, how lucky. And I got down there and pulled in, and I started to get out, and I looked, and there was this man leaning against the side of the building. He just leaning there, and he had sunglasses on. It was dark. He had
Oh,
sunglasses, a black hat, a black
yeah.
suit, black pants, black shoes, white shirt, and just standing there like this, just like he owned the place. And I'm like, that must be one of those government men my dad was telling me about. So I thought, well, I'm going to walk by and I'm going to get a good look at him, see what he looks like. I was within inches of that guy, and it was, I guess, one of the men in black. And I got up next to him and I looked, and his skin, he had a really nice complexion, but his skin was grayish looking. And he had almond eyes. I could see big almond eyes. I'm like, oh, he's odd. So I went in and I got my stuff and I went to make my purchase. And the girl that was there, I said, what's that man doing out there? And she said, he's been out there all day. She said, I called the police and they said, oh, don't pay any attention to him. If he's not causing any trouble, don't worry about it. If he starts causing problems, call me. So she said, he's just been there all day, just standing there like that. And I said, that's weird. I didn't want to go out after I paid for my stuff. I didn't want to go out because I didn't want to go past him. But I went past him and I thought, I'm going to speak to him this time and see what he does. I went by and I said, hello, never moved. And so I looked down this way, and there stood another one, just like him, leaned against a flag or a lamppost.
Right.
Like, oh, God. And for some reason, I told people I felt more afraid of him than I did those UFOs or the Mothman. There was just
Something about him.
something about him. So I got in the car, and the drive from there to home was pretty scary because it was dark. There weren't any street lights or anything back then along the roads. It was just a 2-lane road, and I know I drove pretty fast. And I got home. The night before the bridge collapsed, the next day we were supposed to have a dance at school. So I was all excited about that. I go to bed, and I have a dream. I've had dreams like this before, but this one was terrifying. I saw packages floating in the Ohio River, Christmas gifts. And I could hear metal breaking and see lights under the water and cars and things in the water. And I thought, what is this? What? And I woke up with a start, and I went downstairs, and I told my mother, and she said, oh, Linda, you have dreams like that. Don't worry about it. Just, go to your dance and have a great time. And everything's fine. You just have dreams like that. And she did too. So it ran in my family. So I go to the dance that night. We're supposed to be there at 5 because that's what time the band comes, and I was to help decorate and get things ready.
Yeah.
And about 5:15, the gymnasium doors open. The band, we think it's the band coming from down in Huntington, West Virginia. Now they would have to come up in through Point Pleasant and go across the Silver Bridge and on up to Pomeroy that way. And we're thinking, well, it's the guys, and this guy's come in. He's looking terrible, and we're like, oh my gosh, what happened? He said the Silver Bridge collapsed.
Oh my God!
And we're like, we're there for a Christmas dance, and all the fun and gaiety that we're having. Oh, we start crying because it's a small area, and I was sure I probably had somebody on it that went down.
Yeah.
And our band, where are they? So that was before cell phones. He said, I've got to get back home, but I wanted to come and tell you guys why they're not here yet. Pray that they're not in the water. So he goes home, and then we have to wait for, it was probably 6 before he got back. And he said they were in line waiting to go across that bridge. And there was so much traffic. They saw all these lights and sirens and stuff. It had just collapsed. And so they had to come up on the West Virginia side and across the Pomeroy Mason Bridge by where I lived, and then go to Pomeroy. So that put a damper on that. My life since then, it's been quite the roller coaster. I think when a person has this ability, and when something like that happens to you,
It's affects you emotionally then, doesn't it?
It does. I've had a lot of therapy to deal with this. Just speaking, this is therapy for me. It used to be I couldn't tell it, but I've gotten over the part where people say, oh, Linda, yeah, you're nuts, Linda, yeah, whatever. People that really know me know how hard it is for me to talk in front of other people. When I was asked to speak at the Mothman Festival, which is, it's the 2nd or 3rd September, September weekend in September, usually around the 19th or 20th. I agreed, and I thought, how am I ever going to do this? How am I ever going to do it? So I had a group of people that were really good friends. I said, you have to sit on the front row so I can talk to you. So there just happened to be a rocking chair in there. So I took it and sat there, and I have a little service dog. She was right down there. And
brilliant.
There were over 300 people in there. And granted, this is the first time I've ever spoken in public. And there was a waiting list to get in. They had to close the doors. It went all the way down to where the Mothman statue was, and on down through there. And the only thing I really remember about that is a girl, her name is Sherry Brake. And she was a Facebook friend of mine, and she's a good friend online, and we've met a couple times. She came up and hugged me when it was over, and she said, "I can feel you." I said, I know, thank you. And I said, she helped me. She said, you can do this, you can get it together. So from then on out, I've been able to get my story out to people. And I know what I experienced, but I don't know what it was. And over the years, I've gone back and forth about what I think it was. Now, Chief Cornstalk that I mentioned earlier is my 7th great grandfather. I have done a little bit of research. I researched his family and found out that I was in his family, and a lot more than it being a coincidence of the people that had either seen Mothman, had direct contact with Mothman or UFOs, are in his family. It's family.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I'm like, I felt like when I went down there, my dad had told me to stay away from down there, but I went down there to do Christmas shopping, and he said it was all right. Then I go there, and there's those 2 men in black that scare me to death, and I don't go back down there after that. And then the bridge collapses. I think a lot of people, even Mary Heyer, who was the reporter for the Athens Messenger back during the time that John Keel was down there, and they were doing all the investigations for the Mothman. She was so frightened by the men in black and stuff that she didn't go out, and she didn't go over there. She just didn't feel comfortable going over in Point Pleasant after that. And I've heard other people say that too. So I think he was a harbinger, and I think he kept me from going back down there and getting killed. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, I've had an encounter with Men in Black, so I know what you feel like.
Yeah.
So it
So
is scary.
it is. At the time, I'm glad that happened to me when I was young, in some respects, because I've had time to process it. But still, at the age that I am, um, I still go over the different things, and after I do a podcast or something, it takes me a few hours afterwards to get myself settled down from what I tell. But I have found that over the years that it's not only been the Mothman. I mean, I saw spirits when I was little. I saw my guardian angel when I was 3. I saw a gray when I was 5. Um, Now out here where I live in West Virginia, I have found that there are signs of Bigfoot. I've got footprints. We've had what we call the night of siege, where things were knocking on the doors and knocking on the windows and on the sides of the house. I've heard screams and whoops and knocks, and I found structures by the dozens in the hills behind me.
Another question here from Janice. Linda, you said when you got home after the event with the Mothman, you and your boyfriend felt okay, mild, felt clear. I wonder why the good feeling didn't last.
I think what it was, that there's something that was uploaded. I think they got all that childhood trauma out of my mind. I was quite a precocious little child. I was always busy. My mom used to say, I didn't know what to do with you, because I was creative and busy. And I think that they were helping me to develop that psychic sense. In some respects, it did last. Um, because now I meet people in the grocery stores or Walmart or on the street. And if I had one of my kids with me, my grandchildren or a friend, I'd say, I'll be right back. And it used to bother them. My daughter used to say, oh, Mom, don't. You're embarrassing me. And I'll just say, well, go look at the clothes. I'm going to go talk to this woman. I feel drawn to somebody. And I'll tell her, I feel you just lost somebody. And I'm here to help you. I feel like I've been guided to help you. And it's kind of like God gave me that gift. Um, I would tell her who it was, names, dates, places, and I'd say they are at peace and they want you to stop worrying. I went to Sedona about 4 years ago in Arizona, and I went up on Red Rocks to watch the sunset. It was just, if you get a chance to go, go. There was a girl sitting there with her, I suppose, her husband. I walked around her a little bit, and I kept hearing this voice say, she needs you to talk to her. And I used to question it and say, what am I going to say? Because I'm not that outgoing. I'm more so than I used to be. So before there was anybody around, her husband got up and left. And I went over and I sat down. I introduced myself and I said, you just lost your mother. I'm so sorry. And she said, how did you know that? And I said, Spirit tells me these things. Spirit, I'm like a conduit. God tells me to go and comfort people. And I said, she was sick for quite a while and you had this trip planned and you were afraid that she was going to pass while you were gone. And I said, she passed and then you didn't want to go. And then you came and she wants you to know that she's glad you went and that she's fine. Oh, she bawled and she bawled and she bawled and I bawled and cried. And she said, that's fantastic. And I said, that's how God works. That's how Spirit works. And I said,
It's true. About your book, have other people reached out to you with similar experiences since your book was published?
oh, yes, quite a few. We have a paranormal group, but we just started. There's only about 5 of us, but we meet the second Thursday of each month. We quit for a while when both of Chris and I fell and got hurt over the winter, but we're on the mend and we're going to start up again. But we meet the second Thursday either here in our home or at the library, Wood County Library, and just as a safe place to come and tell your experience and to listen to other people of what they've experienced, whether it's the supernatural, paranormal, ghosts, Bigfoot, Mothman, Dogman, and to realize that this kind of stuff can drive you crazy. I was at the Pomeroy Library. They asked me to come and talk a couple summers ago, and when it was over, this girl came up to me and she said, I've been waiting for 50 years. I call her girl for 50 years to tell my story to somebody. I said, let's walk outside. And I said, tell me what you saw. And she said, when she was a little kid, they had a coal burning furnace, and her mother would give her a bucket and say, go to the coal pile, get some coal and bring it in, and we'll put it in, and we'll heat up the house. And that was her job. She said, I went out one evening to get coal, and she said, I felt like something was watching me. And she's crying when she's telling me, and I said, it's okay, you're safe here. I get it. I saw that thing. And she said she looked up and it was standing in front of her just a little bit on a rise. And it put its wings up like this at her. And this was down in around Ravenswood, West Virginia, which is down below Point Pleasant.
All right.
It was during that time, the Mothman. She said it put its wings up And up it went. And she said she went back in the house, and her mom said, "Where's the bucket's empty? Where's the coal?" And she said, "I just couldn't." And then she told her finally what she saw, and she said, "I'll walk out with you." She said, "You're just seeing things." And she said, "I never got over that." And I told her how I did, how I got through it.
Yeah.
You never get over it. You got to go through it to get over it. If that means reliving it, telling it 100 times, eventually you'll understand that it's okay. There's other people that have experiences too. I talk a lot.
What's one conception about the UFO or cryptic encounters that you wish people understand better?
That the person that has the encounter has experienced something. Like in my instance, all that stuff that I tell you. I mean, if somebody had told me that before I had the encounter, I'd say, "Well, you're on something. You're smoking
Yeah.
weed, you're nuts, or you're drunk, or whatever." Our world is more fantastic, and our universe is bigger than we could ever imagine. And whether these things come from here on Earth or whether they come from out there, they're real, and disclosure is near. Our government's coming forward now. I am a Christian. It's important for me to keep my eyes on God, because there's going to be a lot of illusion when this stuff starts coming forward. And I think that's going to help me to understand possibly what I saw wasn't evil. Even if it was, I got through it. I still have my Christian beliefs. I still can believe that God created a big universe, not only these things. It's important to listen, take from it what you will, and leave the rest, and realize that it did happen.
Do you think humanity is ready for fully understood phenomena like this then? Do you think we're ready for it all?
I think it's just like, I liken it to like childbirth. I don't think a woman is ever ready to have a baby until you experience it. Or maybe getting married. You have all these preconceived ideas about what something's going to be. And if you're extremely idealistic like I am, you have an idea of what something might be or where it's from. But then when you experience it, sometimes it changes those ideas. And I think as we get older, we grow. And I think that we've had soft disclosure so far. They're trying to bring this stuff to the forefront. This stuff is real. It's not going away. Do your research. Don't let it frighten you. And if you're Christian, keep your eyes on God, and don't worry about it. He'll take care of you. I think there's good and evil of these creatures, but I think that it has to come out. It has to come out. It has to come to the forefront. We have to know the truth, and I think we should, and I think that we'll be able to handle it.
Do you believe the Mothman phenomenon is linked to UFOs then?
Oh, yes, most definitely. I think it's all interrelated. It's all the spiritual
do you think
world.
they're interdimensional?
It's interdimensional. Is that what you said?
Yeah, do you think they are interdimensional
Yes.
creatures?
I didn't know how to. This comes with education and knowledge, and trying to sort things out in my own mind and in my own way of thinking. I think they're interdimensional because that thing that I saw that came through. Now, when I went to one of the UFO meetings with the Roundtown UFO Society, there was a man there that was from Circleville, and he said, "My wife and I had a similar experience while driving. I was driving down the road, and she was with me, and it was night, and the sky opened up." And he said, "I could see around on the back of that thing when it come through the clouds." he said it was like coming through another world, coming through another dimension. And what I saw burst through, and it was light on the inside around that thing, but it was red on the outside. So unless that's how they move warp speed, I would say it's interdimensional. I mean, when I can remember being a kid and they're saying, well, there's 3 dimensions, there's 4 dimensions, oh, there's 10 dimensions, oh, there's 11 dimensions. I mean, I don't think we know how many there are. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Dragons in the chat room here said, what if you're not a Christian?
Get your Bible, read Genesis 1:6. Study the book of Genesis. Learn about what God created. Learn about the Nephilim. Learn about, get the book of Enoch, read it. But my advice is to read the Bible and start with Genesis. And then in your heart, pray. And if you are not a Christian, if you see one of these things, you might become one real quick. Because Jesus saves.
Yeah, before we finish, a question what everybody probably have asked you. Did you ever doubt your own memory of the event?
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think what helped me to come to terms with it is, like I said, ever since I was a baby. When my mom gave birth to me, she told me that she had like a near-death experience. They didn't call it that then, but they do now. She almost died, and she saw Jesus, and he said, this is a tree of life. And he showed her a tree, and there were all these people coming out of the tree. And my mom said, she asked him what that was, and he said, this is all of your relatives. And he said, you're going to have a special child, and she has abilities.
Oh.
So my mom told me that. And then when I was 3, I saw my guardian angel, and she talked to me. And like I said, when I was 5 in the middle of the night, I saw a gray alien walking up to our house. And when I woke up, I was downstairs in a closet under the sink. And then when I was 12, some of the things my guardian angel told me came true. And then I was 16, I saw Mothman. My life hadn't always been all that easy, and I've made some really stupid decisions, like a lot of people. But overall, I think I've had a good life. And I think that through study and prayer and friends and people like you, where we can get our stories out and share with other people and let them know these things are here. One of the most important thing to me that's happened to me with all this, it did not hurt me. There may have been more to my story because
yeah, it didn't. It picked you up and owned
it might have taken me aboard the ship. Now the psychologist wanted me to come back and do more, and I told her I've had enough. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with what I know, but never quit learning, no matter how old you get. Never quit questioning. If I didn't question myself and didn't delve deeper to find answers and pray about it and find answers from God, I probably would be a total, complete psychotic mess.
Before we go, what do you hope readers take away after finishing your book?
Basically that if they have their own encounter, don't wait 50, 60 years to tell somebody. You'll find out that there's more people out there that have experienced these things than what you ever knew about. And I hope they enjoy it. I mean, all of it's true. But like I said, I don't know what it was. I just know that it happened.
Yes, it did. Definitely did.
But then, like I said, I get to meet people like you, and I've met the most fantastic group of people. And 9 times out of 10, just like anything else, most people are going to not give you a hard time. They're going to give you a good time.
Of course
And
they are.
yeah,
Definitely.
and it makes you a better person too.
I
It
think
builds
it
your
does.
character.
And like you say, over the years, it's got a little bit easier telling the story now.
Yeah. Mhm. Thank you.
Where can people get your book?
It's on Amazon. Now, I don't get any credits from that. You can write to me and I can send you a signed copy. I could probably sell it to you about what you get it on Amazon by the time it gets, I can add the shipping to it. But if you want a signed copy, you can find me on Facebook.
If they've got any stories to tell you, where can they get in touch with you?
On Facebook's a good, just send me a friend request or send me a message on Facebook, and I'll be glad to hear them and share, and we can figure it out together.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you.
It's been a great show. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling all about your encounter.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And it's always fun to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. I enjoy
Yeah.
people coming on and talking about their experiences. I
Yes.
think it does them good as well to talk about it.
Yes, you had Steve Ward on the other day.
I
And
did. Yeah.
he is a fantastic person, and he's become a good friend of mine.
He's always got plenty to talk.
Oh, he
tell
is
you
so
about you as well.
knowledgeable.
And he always talks about you as well.
He's a good friend, and he's got so much knowledge. He's like a walking encyclopedia.
He is definitely. Yeah, he knows some stuff. But it's
I know.
nice, and he enjoys doing it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's good at it.
And he goes to a lot of these conferences.
Yes, yes. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's always fun. That's
And
another
like
thing.
you said, when you first did your first conference, it must have been so hard for you to stand in front of people thinking, "Oh my God, look at all these people here."
When I realized most of them are there for a reason. Probably a third of them. I bet a third of them have had an experience.
Yes.
And we're just like me. They want to know that, they're not totally bonkers.
Like you say, a lot of people shut it out and think, "Oh, I don't want to tell anybody."
I know.
It's hard work, and they must think I'm balmy.
You'd be surprised. 2 out of 3 people, I would say, probably have experienced something.
I'm sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
even if it's a Bigfoot or something extraordinary, or they've seen a UFO. Do you think there's a lot more people coming out now and telling their story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot more conferences, and if you get a chance to go to any the paranormal conference, the Ohio Bigfoot Conference at Salt Fork is, I believe, May the 2nd. It's the first Saturday in May. I always go to that. It's always a lot of fun, and you get to see people you haven't seen. Like I said, it's just like a big community of friends. You make new friends, and it's worldwide. I did a documentary with Jason Kinsey, and it's coming out this summer.
Oh, Jason, yeah. No, Jason. I've had him on the show as well, Jason. He's a great guy as well.
He's been here, and we did that with Sherry Barker, and we had the best time. So you meet a lot of nice people.
Oh, of course you do. Exactly. And when you're doing your podcast, you always meet nice people on my podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So thank you for coming on the show. Thank you to everybody in the chat room for your questions. My guest on Friday is Ethan Oates.
Oh.
Don't know a lot about him. I'm sure he's going to be a great guest. We'll be talking about Bigfoot, giant skulls, pyramids. What you think pyramids in different places around the world where they're not supposed to be there.
Yes.
We'll be talking lots of different things on the show on Friday. the 24th.
Wonderful. I'll be listening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Linda.
Sure.
And you take care.
You too.
Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you. You too.
And rest of the week and enjoy your afternoon.
You too. Thank you, sir. It's been my pleasure. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.